Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new vid of Fox Tracks. Today we're checking out a vid from Film Theory, Disney's secret archive of dead actors. Well, let's see just what MatPat's putting together this time.
Okay, people, let's bring up the fog. A little bit more, yeah. Ah, perfect.
All right.
Cue 'em up. Let's
All right.
see here. Good,
Tupac?
good, excellent.
Monroe?
You
Wait,
will
what?
be missed. Good.
Oh,
Whoa,
wait.
whoa, hey, excuse me, what is this?
Is there a problem?
Yeah, there's a problem. What did the stage directions say for this cold open?
Several holograms of dead celebrities?
Dead celebrities. Who's
Dead
this?
celebrities.
Will Smith?
Uh-huh. Is
Yeah.
Will Smith dead?
Are you actually asking, or...?
No, he's not.
No,
he's
he's
not dead. Just figure it out. We'll find someone else to fill the slot.
Oh, sir, just check the manifest. That's not actually a hologram of Will Smith.
No?
No,
What?
that is a hologram of Will Smith's career. It just died.
Oh,
Well, ain't
Oh.
that just a slap in the face?
oh, nice. Wait, so it's not Will Smith, it's his career. Ah, that makes sense.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, where we encourage you to slap that subscribe button harder than you would an award show host making bald jokes. So, a
Nice.
couple weeks ago, we started examining Disney's use of deepfake and digital de-aging technology in the wake of young Luke appearing all over.
Alright, I'm gonna say this, I didn't watch that vid because I didn't see a reason to, so looks like I'm behind.
The Book of Boba Fett. During that discussion, we briefly touched on the fact that more and more studios seem to be bringing characters played by actors who've died back into their films played by the actors who've already died, ranging from Paul Walker in Fast and Furious
Thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
to Carrie Fisher in Star Wars and Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters.
I thought you might turn up.
But of them, one stood out from the others. A digital Peter Cushing
Okay.
played Grand Moff Tarkin in 2016's Rogue One. You see, Peter
Damn,
Cushing
what's that?
died back in 1994, so his appearance
Rest
in
in
Rogue
peace.
One wasn't like some sort of respectful send-off to a recently departed actor. Plus, they've gotten other actors to play Tarkin in the past, like in Revenge of the Sith. Even the body double they got to perform the character in Rogue One looks enough like
Guy
Tarkin that they
Henry?
didn't need to go all digital necromancer for the scene. See, something about this got my theorist senses tingling. Disney doesn't
Digital
usually do something unless there's a
necromancer.
business advantage in doing it, and this seemed like more than just a PR move, so I started
Alright.
digging. And from what I
you
found,
got,
I
Matt?
think Disney is playing a long game when it comes to deceased actors. By seeding the idea of reviving characters now, they stand to earn some big money in the ownership and employment of dead actors decades from now. Let me
Yeah, I
explain.
guess that
You see,
does
indie
make
studio
some
Magic
sense.
City Films made headlines back in 2019 when they announced that they were working on an adaptation of the novel Finding Jack, the story of a Vietnam vet finding his will to live after rescuing a wounded dog. The story
Oh.
itself wasn't the thing that made headlines,
nice.
obviously. Instead, it was who was cast as the leading man, James Dean. Now, if you
Who?
don't know who James Dean is, I can't really blame you at this point. Dean was a Hollywood heartthrob most known
Oh.
for his role in Rebel Without a Cause, but his rise to stardom was cut tragically short in 1955 when he died in a car crash at the age of 24.
Oh.
And now you start to
Well,
see
rest
why
in
this
peace,
movie
man.
caught people's attention.
Yeah,
He
now I see
died
why.
nearly 70 years ago, and yet he's about to star in a brand new movie. See, the filmmakers plan to revive
Put down
Dean
the
using the
black
same
magic
mixture of
book.
CGI, body double, and face swapping that we've seen used to create Tarkin in Rogue One and young Luke in The Mandalorian. The plan
Yeah,
was
right.
met with immediate backlash, but still, it
No.
merits the question. Are they allowed to do something like this legally? And that got me asking
that
the
actually
even
is a
bigger
question.
question. Who actually owns a dead celebrity? Who can
Hmm.
and can't use the names and likenesses of famous people in their movies, TV shows, and
That really
advertisements
is
for chicken
something, though.
sandwiches?
And then I went to Chick-fil-A and got the new egg white grill. You know how many likes I'm gonna
Wait,
get
what?
on this one? So many likes!
Why do
I
you
would
have a
guess,
phone?
but something tells me deceased aviator Amelia Earhart never went to a Chick-fil-A. And yet
Yeah.
there's her
Or
name
had a
right
phone.
there shilling for breakfast sandwiches, so what gives? Well, the short answer is it's complicated. There are literally
Alright,
entire
fine.
businesses dedicated to selling the rights to use dead celebrities like James Dean. And some
Oh, wait,
companies
really?
like Disney are even building libraries of their movie stars, potentially to keep the characters alive long after the actors die. Yeah, this is one of those
mean,
dark future
I
episodes,
guess.
so strap in, loyal theorists. Today we're taking a look at the dark, digitally altered dystopia that is Celebrities, the business
Celebrities?
of dead celebrities.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
No, that
Celebrity,
makes
that
sense.
is the
Celeb-
official name that the industry has given it. Ooh boy, this is gonna be a weird one. So let's start
Already
with the
is,
question
Matt.
that should have itself an
Already
obvious answer. Do you own your face? Yes, you
Oh,
do,
yeah.
but also,
Oh.
no, you really don't. You see, according to the justice systems of most countries, a person owns their body, which obviously
Okay.
includes your physical face. But what you don't necessarily own is your image, the representation representation of your face.
Oh,
According to
now
most
that would make
laws
sense.
regarding this, the image of a person is considered separate from
Yeah.
the actual person themselves. So a drawing, a
So
paint,
pretty much if I was to take a picture of myself right now, that could be sold, but I cannot. That actually makes sense. Yeah, okay, I getcha.
painting, a photograph, a video, a statue, heck, even a sculpture made out of butter, all of that is not considered the same as the person who's the subject of said photo, video, or butter sculpture. The owner of those creations
me
is
in
the
this
person
video
who
is
created
not
it,
the
or
me
the one who paid for it
outside
to be
the
created.
video.
Fun fact, by the way, the person who created it, part of the law, actually became subject of controversy in the mid-2010s when a wildlife
how?
photographer named David Slater set up a camera in Indonesia that a macaque monkey named Naruto then used to take a series of selfies. Yep, this is a very real legal case.
Oh, yeah,
I guess
I actually
Naruto
think
here
I
was
remember
posing for his
that.
Hokage sculpture.
Believe it!
Several websites then started using the
remember
selfies
that.
without crediting or compensating Slater under the excuse that Naruto the monkey was the one who took the pictures and was not
By
considered a legal person, therefore could
technicality.
not hold copyright. This case actually got so much attention that the U.S.
technicality,
Copyright
it
Office
was
had to make an
just
official
him.
statement clarifying that the photos were indeed in the public domain, free for anyone to use because they were taken by a monkey. All
Monkey
that monkey
took its own
business
picture,
aside,
so
just
yeah.
because you don't own your image doesn't mean they have zero control over the use of your image. It's just that it's typically been settled on a case-by-case basis. For
Objection!
example, we all have a right to privacy, which protects us from having our image taken without our consent in a private space. Basically, someone can't just put up a camera against your window, snap some photos, and call it an art piece. That is creepy
no.
and also super illegal. Similarly,
Very
states like
illegal.
California and Virginia have outlawed the use of deepfakes to create intimate
What the
videos of
fuck?
someone without their consent. You're also protected
Oh,
in cases
wait,
of
now I
defamation. Someone
understand.
can't just take your image and edit it into a context that would seriously damage your reputation.
Hold on,
Even
we got an
J.
ad. And we're back.
Jonah Jameson doesn't mess around with that one.
That's slander.
It is not. I
It's
resent
not.
that. Slander is spoken. In print, it's libel.
However, the most relevant
all right,
piece
well,
of
hey, look at
legalese
that.
that I want to look at today is actually one that we briefly talked about in part 1 of the series, the right of publicity. In case you don't remember, the right of publicity protects an individual's likeness, and sometimes their name, voice, and signature from being used to promote a product without their consent. For example,
Oh,
it's
okay, I
illegal to
see.
use a picture of Barack Obama, or Britney Spears, or internet weirdo Matt Patton, anything that implies
Nice.
they endorse something that they haven't already signed off on. And
So, unless a person is sponsored by it, I won't be able to say, hey, McDonald's, it's what to eat, or something like that. And that was terrible since I was trying to go off the top of my head.
that makes a lot of sense, right? Coca-Cola can't use me to promote regular Coke when Diet Coke is the far superior beverage. It would be a
I prefer
misuse
regular
of me,
myself.
my opinion, and my image. But the extent of that protection suddenly becomes murky when it comes to the ability to raise dead
Michael
celebrities from beyond the grave. You see, it ultimately depends on where
Nice.
you are and how long the celebrity's been dead. Most states
yeah.
recognize it for somewhere between 50 and 100 years. In
75 years
California,
on
where the
most.
biggest movie studios are headquartered, it exists for 70 years after death. Huh, what a coincidence
Yep.
that James Dean died almost 70 years ago. Interestingly, in Tennessee, Elvis's estate was actually able to extend the right of publicity into perpetuity, so the king
Damn.
will reign forever in Nashville. So, who then owns the
That
dead
was
celebrities during this
awesome.
post-mortem period? Their families and their estates, and that can be some big business. According to the
Yeah.
2021 Forbes list of highest-earning dead celebrities, which is a thing that comes
Ooh.
out every year, author Roald Dahl came in on top, earning a
Ooh.
whopping $513 million
Wow.
when his estate sold away their shares in his stories to Netflix.
All right,
The
that's
Prince
not
estate
bad.
did largely the
Charlie
same
and the
thing with
Chocolate
Prince's
Factory.
music last year, earning themselves $120 million. As you might expect, a
Okay.
lot of musicians top the list, like Michael Jackson and Juice WRLD, all
makes
up
sense.
there. Even sports athletes can crack the top 10. Among the list of singers and authors is
athletes.
Arnold Palmer, famous golfer
Oh.
who died back in 2016. He earned himself $27 million off of advertising and sales of his
Yeah,
signature
all right,
lemonade
all right.
iced tea mix. Now, this sort of thing isn't
Okay, not
necessarily
bad.
a new phenomenon or a new
Here's your
business
commission.
model. Merchandising the likeness of dead celebrities in one way or another has been a thing for decades. At big licensing conventions, there are whole booths dedicated to single celebrities, like Cowboy
alright.
John Wayne or iconic Dracula Bela Lugosi, each
Ooh,
hawking their likeness
Bela
for whatever the
Lugosi,
next big
a
payday
classic.
is.
What's it like running the Lugosi brand?
It's an honor to preserve the memory of my grandfather and extend his legacy into the future.
Oh,
We have
hey,
a beautiful
kept it
wine,
in the
beer,
family. That's
t-shirts,
nice.
accessories, collectible figures, statues.
That's how you get stuff like we talked about last
Nice.
time. Fred Astaire dancing with a dirt devil or Audrey Hepburn chilling for chocolate. But what's changed is the how of this business. See, not
Alright.
every dead celebrity's family or estate is going to have the desire or the means to make new business deals over the decades and decades that
Oh,
they'll hold
whoa.
the image rights to their deceased relative. So, it only makes
Yeah, I
sense that
guess it
some
would
sort
just
of
take
business would
a lot.
materially specialized to handle that for them. And not only that, but in a
Oh,
world
boy.
where IP is king, it makes sense for those businesses to condense into larger companies. And guess what? That is already
Boom.
what's happening right now.
Telepathy,
Meet companies like
mega.
Worldwide XR, an IP licensing company and production studio formed in 2019. Looking through their website, they seem to function like a talent agency, except they're a talent agency for the dead. The products that they're licensing aren't brands,
Oh, look, Jackie
they're
Robinson.
people. Worldwide claims to either own or have exclusive deals with the families, estates, and rights holders of the
Okay.
likenesses of over 400 dead celebrities, and they've worked with huge companies
Is
like
this all
Apple,
legal?
Google, Sony, and McDonald's. If you head on over to their website, they even have a nice clean catalog of all the dead people you can license for your movies and ads, including
Hey,
famous
nice.
faces like Burt Reynolds, Andre the Giant,
Whoa.
Maya Angelou,
Oh.
Malcolm X, Neil
Huh?
Armstrong, Rosa
Oh, hey.
Parks, and would you
Oh,
look
cool.
at that, James Dean. Yep, Worldwide
Right
XR's
there. There he
predecessor,
is.
CMG
Great.
Worldwide, was the company that helped coordinate the Finding Jack adaptation that started me down this rabbit
Yeah,
hole in
okay.
the first place. So just to wrap things up here in a nice little bow, who owns dead celebrities? It depends, mostly on where
It
you
really
are and
does
how long
depend.
they've been dead. If you're in a US jurisdiction with right of publicity laws that extend after death, the image of a dead celebrity is owned by their family or estate for up to 100 years after they've died. They can then
Yep.
license out that celebrity's image for any number of things, for vacuum ads, for TV cameos, and yes, even leading roles in feature films. But here's where things start to
I
get
wonder if I can
tricky.
become
What
an,
happens after the
celebrity.
rights of publicity expire? As I noted earlier, James Dean died nearly 70 years ago. Could Magic City Films wait a few more years to insert a digital zombie of Dean into their movies and not have to pay a penny for it? Heck, could I resurrect
Maybe.
James Dean to co-host the show? Historically, this sort of concern has never been a problem. While
Maybe.
someone's right to publicity may
Matt.
lapse,
Maybe
the
you could do
copyright
that.
for images of them are in effect for a much longer period. The life of the author plus 70 years.
Oh,
For
yeah.
instance, as we've discussed, James Dean's right to publicity
Like the whole thing going on with Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse has supposedly only got around less than 5 years left, and then he's public domain. And that's right, in just about 5 years or so, we can use the mouse's image however we want.
expires 70 years after his death in 1955, so that would be 2025, just 3 years from now. But most of the pictures of James Dean were taken by a man named Dennis Stock. Since he's the
okay.
owner of those images, it means that the copyright is tied to his life. And considering Dennis Stock died in 2010, Dean's most iconic pictures enter public domain for use in 2080, a full 55 years
Nice.
after Dean's likeness becomes available. And since there's never been a way to exploit a dead actor that doesn't involve pictures or video of them, well, that's just
I
really
guess it
how
would
long
be
you had to
difficult.
wait. But now we've got deepfake technology. We're feeding libraries of images
Hmm.
and videos into computers to produce living, breathing, talking resurrections of actors. And legally,
Alright,
it
this
falls
is
into an
actually really
area that
cool.
is so new that the law has, to the best of our research, never once considered.
Hmm.
As it sits right now, theoretically, there doesn't seem to be anything stopping me from creating a lifelike render of James Dean in 3 years and using him to host a show, or star in my
Cool.
next movie, or whatever.
Oh,
And the
hold on,
copyrights
we got
for the
another
original
ad.
images that I'm feeding into
And we're back.
the machine to produce my James Dean bot don't seem to matter either. At least they don't
Deanbot.
seem to matter to Disney. In the behind-the-scenes documentary for The Mandalorian, the visual effects artist
Alright.
for ILM admitted that they had searched the internet for any and all high-quality interviews that they could find of Mark Hamill from the 80s.
Oh.
There was
I mean, I
a
guess
moment
that
where I
would
even
make
scoured
sense.
the internet and found older interviews and that of Mark Hamill.
Makes me feel good that Disney basically does the same thing
I don't like when it loads like this. Yeah, I guess I could set this to auto, but why? It would just make the quality so bad for all of you out there. So, you know what? Let's pause, and then I'll get right back to you. And we're back.
do for this show to pull our assets. Anyway, if those teams over at Disney use that footage in their deepfakes, they sure didn't credit any of the interviews they used. Believe me, I checked, sat through the Mandalorian's credits and read every single name. Nothing. In
Damn.
short, as people die and their right to publicity
really gotta
expires,
hurt.
it's starting to look like you
Like
could
your
create
eyes,
an
I mean.
archive of famous actors, all used for free, all waiting in their refrigerated underground robot bunker, or computer server, but I think underground bunker is the cooler image, waiting to
It
be
is.
rolled out to shill for the latest vacuum cleaner and chocolate bar. The only thing that could possibly protect him at this point is trademark, maybe. But
Trademark?
right now, it all hinges on one woman, Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn
Ooh.
Monroe was the it
Explain.
girl of Hollywood back in the 50s and early 60s. She was a pop icon and sex symbol, the definition of the blonde bombshell.
was.
The woman who single-handedly redefined what celebrity meant with iconic movies like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and Some Like It Hot. And like James Dean, she too died prematurely at the age of 36. But what makes
Damn.
her important in this discussion is that
What
though
killed
she
her?
died in Los Angeles Angeles, California, she was a resident of the state of New York at the time, a state that historically didn't have any right to publicity protections. That meant that as soon as she tragically passed away, it was open season on the usage of her likeness. So her estate turned to trademarks, trademarking her name in order to protect the Marilyn Monroe brand. And at this point, it's something that most celebrities are doing to ensure extra safeguards around their business. Justin Bieber, Rihanna, Kim Kardashian, all of them trademarked. Speaking of the Kardashians, Kylie Kardashian actually had a lot of problems registering various trademarks around her name because other people beat her to the punch. A clothing trademark named Kylie and Kylie Minogue, contesting the name Kylie Cosmetics. The Kardashians eventually won both of those because of course they did, but you know. Anyway, Marilyn Monroe had the same protection, but in 2017, the trademark was contested as being too generic. After all, how can you possibly trademark just a name? So after 2 years of back and forth in 2019, a judge ruled that the trademark still stood, but also didn't rule on the nuances of the case, what the actual extent of those protections are. So nuances of the case are still being hammered out. We'll see. So what does all of this mean for my new movie starring the celebrity Marilyn Monroe? Well, because the law hasn't caught up to modern technology, it should mean that I can use her image and her voice in a film without problem, and without needing to compensate anyone. The only thing that I can't explicitly do is use her name. Therefore, I present to you Gentlemen Prefer Blondes 2, starring the new It Girl, Carolyn Monroe. So, is all of this good? Is it bad? Honestly, I don't love it. Definitely makes me a bit uncomfortable, even without the deepfake faces currently being stuck in the uncanny valley. It just feels ethically icky to bring back stars and put words in their mouth without their permission, you know? Regardless of how I feel, though, it's absolutely a fact that it becomes much easier for an individual's image to be exploited in ways that they might not have wanted. It's actually something that Mandalorian producer Jon Favreau seemed keenly aware of in the behind-the-scenes documentary for the series.
Because it's becoming harder and harder to tell fake from real. And if we know that, we have the technology that could address that. Part of our responsibility is to keep an eye on that and see how we can help maximize the benefit while diminishing or eliminating the downside.
But you have to think, what happens when these tech-savvy, ethically minded artists are no longer in charge? When people like Jon Favreau or Kevin Feige move on from Lucasfilms and Marvel Studios? We've already seen how quickly the tone of a company can change when someone new takes the reins. Just look at the difference at Disney under the leadership of Bob Iger versus Bob Chapek. Iger was famous for his positive relationships with the talent, while Chapek has become infamous for squabbling with the likes of Scarlett Johansson over compensation. If anyone is in the position to exploit these dead celebrities, it's Disney. All throughout these deepfake theories, we've mentioned how—
Wait a minute, that second Bob guy, was that the one that was on the Johnny Depp's case about what was going on with Amber Heard? Or any of that crap?
Disney's been building a library of photo scans of actors appearing in the big franchises. And sure, for now, they seem to be asking the estates of the stars for their input and permission when they resurrect the characters, or getting talent like Mark Hamill involved when they de-age Luke Skywalker with deepfakes, but who's to say they'll keep doing that? There doesn't seem to be anything to legally stop them from using these images long after they've died without asking permission. Samuel L. Jackson seems to think that that might be an option, suggesting that Disney could insert a digital Stan Lee into every movie they make from now until the end of time. And at the rates that attitudes in both Hollywood and the general audience are changing, if you have the Avengers assembling in the year 2150 from beyond the grave, well, that's something that a lot of people would pay to see. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Alright, and there we go. So, I want y'all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support MatPat and all he does, along with all the other theaters on this channel, and I'll see all of you folks in the next video. Have a good one.